So much, Gopal Govind Prabhu, for kindly inviting me. Thank you, Ramachandra Prabhu, for kindly inviting me here to speak something today on the occasion of Srila Narottam Das Thakur's festival of appearance. And before we begin, there is a Shishta Parampara. There is a tradition to recite Mangala Charan. So I'll recite Mangala Charan and then we can begin. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupah Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruh Shri Yutapade-kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namaha Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतुषे नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रील नरोत्तम दास ठाकुर आविर्भाव तिथि महामहोत्सव की जय। हिताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। So thank you very much once again, Gopal Govind Prabhu, for kindly introducing me, and thank you, Ramachandra Prabhu, for kindly inviting me. Today is the appearance day of Shri Narottama Das Thakur, and there is a very famous saying amongst the Gaudiya Vaishnavas that Vaishnavera Gunagan Karile Jivanatran Suniyache Sadhu Guru Mukhe. That simply by glorifying the Vaishnavas, Karile Jivanatran is a sure way of delivering oneself from the ocean of birth and death. Suniyache Sadhu Guru Mukhe. I have heard this from the mouth of sadhus and gurus. So it is 100% confirmed that by glorifying the Vaishnavas, one definitely clears his way back to the lotus feet of Krishna. And today is a very nice occasion because it is the appearance day of one of the most illustrious disciples of Lokanath Goswami and Srila Jiva Goswami. He took Diksha from Sri Lokanath Goswami, but he took most of his Shiksha from Srila Jiva Goswami. He is Srila Narottama Das Thakur Mahashay. So, Srila Narottama Das Thakur Mahashay, he appeared today on this particular day, and it was around, it was just around the time when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was winding up his pastimes on this planet. That was the time when Sri Narottama Das Thakur was born. In those days, there were many different varieties of jatis or many different varieties of castes in India. So he was by Jati, he was a Kayastha. So Kayastha is a class of individuals who perform many administrative services. They perform government services or revenue services. So that Jati, that caste is known as Kayastha. So he was born in the Kayastha caste, Kayastha Jati, and his father was uh, known as Shri Krishnananda Datta. Shri Krishnananda Datta, although he was known as he was a zamindar. Zamindar means in those days they had landlords. So he was landlord of a big tract of land. There it was known as Gopalpur Pargana in the Rajshahi district of Bangladesh. So there was an entire Pargana, like an entire district, which was under Krishnananda Datta, and that he was the zamindar of that particular district. And the capital of Gopalpur was at Kheturi, and this Kheturi is a wonderful place in Bangladesh where Narottama Das Thakur had later organized, a great festival where all the Vaishnavas had come together. So Sri Narottama Das Thakur's father, his name was Krishnananda, and his mother's name was Narayani Devi. So both names were traditional Vaishnava names. In those days, people used to give very nice names to their children. Krishnananda, Narayani, such names were given to children, and these were the names of Sri Narottama Das Thakur's parents. And there was also a river nearby, which was the river Padma, and this was a very special river in the life of Sri Narottama Das Thakur, because after he took a bath in this river, that is when he was immersed in love of Krishna. So he appeared around the time when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had already started winding up his pastimes. So from his very childhood, Sri Narottama Das Thakur was very much attached to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So according to some people, when Narottama Das Thakur was a very young child, at that particular point of time, his father, Krishnananda Datta, left this world. So at that point of time, because once the father is not there, all the responsibilities, they come upon the shoulder of the son. But at that point of time, Sri Narottama Das Thakur, he was not willing to take all the responsibilities of being a zamindar. See, this is often an issue in the life of many devotees. The issue is that there are many material responsibilities which are waiting for them, but the devotees know that material responsibilities are endless, and life after life after life after life after life, one has to carry out those very same responsibilities. And even after you carry out those responsibilities in your next life, it has very negligible impact on one's spiritual benefit. So Narottama Das Thakur, from the very beginning of his life, he was seriously not interested in taking to zamindari or taking to landlordship, and therefore he entrusted his parental uncle's son, whose name was Santosh, in the responsibility of the royal duties. And Sri Narottama Das Thakur, after doing that, he left for Vrindavan. So before Narottama Das Thakur had appeared in this world, there is a very nice event which had occurred many years before Narottama Das Thakur had appeared in this world. One time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, while performing Sankirtan, had come to a village which was known as Kanai Natshala. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there, suddenly Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started loudly calling out the name Narottam, Narottam, Narottam. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started crying at that point of time. and tears were rolling from his eyes. And at that point of time, Nityanand Prabhu asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu what had happened. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him that he wanted to visit the nearby river whose name was Padma. So Padma was flowing from near that particular village also. So when he spoke to Nityanand Prabhu, and both of them went to visit the river Padma, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that because one of my very dear associates is going to arrive in the future, so I will keep some treasure invested for him in this river Padma. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu invoked the presiding deity of the river Padma, and he deposited Krishna Prem with her, so that when Sri Narottama Das Thakur comes and takes a bath in this river, then he can be fully imbued with this Bhagavad Prem, Krishna Prem. And therefore Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu deposited Krishna Prem with the river Padma, and then he went ahead to other places to do Sankirtan. So coming back to the time when Narottama Das Thakur was about to be entrusted by these responsibilities. So Sri Narottama Das Thakur, when he was 11 years old, at that point of time, he had gotten a dream. And in this dream, Nityanand Prabhu had appeared and told him that he should go to the river Padma, and he should collect what is the treasure reserved for him. So Sri Narottama Das Thakur had gone to the river Padma, and the first time he took a bath there, the river also experienced a lot of ecstasy, and she started overflowing, and Sri Narottama Das Thakur also received the prema which was kept for him by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And as soon as Sri Narottama Das Thakur received a touch of that prema, he was completely ecstatic. His bodily complexion changed, and he could no longer remain in external consciousness. So when he returned back, he was in a completely different state of consciousness, and everybody around him understood that this is not an ordinary occurrence. Something is not normal with this particular person. So his parents, they tried everything to revive him. All means they tried to revive him, but Narottama Das Thakur simply could not be revived. He could not be brought to external consciousness. And from that day onwards, he had firmly decided that he would renounce the world and go away. So after that time only, a few days later, his father had passed away, and then they wanted to entrust the responsibilities on him. He was absolutely not interested. So he left, and he went to Sri Vrindavan Dham. So when he reached Vrindavan Dham, he crossed many jungles, because in those days, Vrindavan, one could not go to Vrindavan using airplanes or using railways. So in those days, the arrangement of Krishna was such that one had to walk to Vrindavan. Now somebody may say, well, why couldn't Krishna make it easier for those devotees? Why couldn't Krishna give them all the facilities of the industrial age? Well, one good reason is because walking to Vrindavan has a lot of benefit as compared to taking a train or an airplane. And this is something very nice that I had heard, that when you take a airplane or when you take a train to Vrindavan, and the airplane arrives, let's say I am in New Jersey, and I take a plane to Delhi and I come to Vrindavan. So it may take me 24 hours to reach Vrindavan. But I have covered such a long distance in such a short amount of time. In 24 hours, I have covered. So what happens is, although my body reaches first in Vrindavan, the mind is still back in New Jersey, and the mind arrives 1 week later. And by the time my Vrindavan tour may already have ended, and I may be preparing to go back to New Jersey. So that is what happens. The body arrives earlier and the mind arrives 1 week later. But when people used to walk to Vrindavan, the mind would arrive 1 week before the body would arrive. And after, the mind would arrive, anticipating that, when will Vrindavan come, when will Vrindavan come. Then after that, the body would arrive. So that is the difference between walking to Vrindavan and, taking a direct flight or train to Vrindavan. So Sri Narottama Das Thakur walked to Vrindavan, and obviously he was anticipating that in Vrindavan he will finally meet the eternal associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. And when he came to Vrindavan, he was, very eager to see these associates. So he went and saw the Yamuna, he took a bath in Yamuna, he did Nam Sankirtan, and then when he asked all the devotees, where is Rupa Goswami? Then the devotees were a little morose, and Rupa Goswami at that point of time had already left this planet. So Narottama Das Thakur obviously was not mentally prepared for this, that Rupa Goswami is not there. So he also looked for Sanatana Goswami, but Sanatana Goswami was the elder brother who had already left before Rupa Goswami. So Narottama Das Thakur, he looked for Raghunath Das Goswami, but Raghunath Das Goswami was also no longer physically present. So he was so morose at that point of time. Narottama Das Thakur wanted to simply end his life, because even after traveling such a great distance and anticipating the meeting between him and Rupa Goswami, still he could not get the association of Rupa Goswami. But there was one Goswami who was present at that time, and that was the youngest one, and that was Srila Jiva Goswami. Now, Sri Narottama Das Thakur's original intention was to meet Srila Rupa Goswami and take initiation from him. But since that was not fulfilled, Sri Narottama Das Thakur had become very morose. So, at that particular night, he got a dream in which Sri Rupa Goswami and Sri Sanatana Goswami came to him and they spoke words of comfort to him. They told Narottama Das Thakur to absolutely not worry about this. They said that all of their, combined mercy is with them, and he should approach another Goswami in Vrindavan whose name is Lokanath Goswami. And Lokanath Goswami, who was directly initiated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was there in Vrindavan, and Lokanath Goswami should be approached for Diksha. So when Narottama Das Thakur got up, he was very jubilant. It was as if, all his desires were fulfilled. He was accepted by Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, but he had to now serve his spiritual master, Sri Lokanath Goswami. So Narottama Das Thakur, obviously, he tried to find out where is Lokanath Goswami, and he found out easily where Lokanath Goswami was. And it is this Lokanath Goswami whom he glorifies in the Guru Puja, when he says Lokanath Lokera Jivana. Lokanath Lokera Jivana means Lokanath is the life of all the living entities. So when he approached Lokanath Goswami and he requested for initiation, Lokanath Goswami flatly refused, because Lokanath Goswami had a policy that he will not accept any disciples. So in those days, many devotees had this policy. Many devotees, not one or two, but many devotees had this policy that we don't want to accept any disciples. And why so? Why don't you want to? Why don't you want to expand the preaching movement of Lord Chaitanya? No, we don't want to do that. There are many people who are already doing that. So we don't want to do those things. We are interested in performing bhajan. So there were many bhajananandis who were absolutely not interested in making disciples. Also, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami has said, Bahu Shishya Kalabhyasa Vyakhya Vada Vivarjanam. One should not get into the cycle of creating disciples. Because once you create disciples, then what happens is that the disciples, they start looking up to you for everything. Each and everything the disciple will, look up to you for. The disciple wants spiritual nourishment. The disciple wants, guidance on each and every small question. The disciple has thousands of doubts. The disciple has so many issues. The disciple has problems in his own personal life. And all of that burden is entrusted on the shoulders of the Guru. And the Vaishnavas would think, in turn, what benefit does the Guru get for accepting a disciple? And the benefits are that the disciple serves the Guru, and the disciple may give, some resources or some wealth to the Guru. But these benefits stand nowhere in comparison to the sacrifices that are made for the sake of nourishing one person in their spiritual life. So many Vaishnavas were absolutely not comfortable in accepting disciples. And there's also another thing, that once you accept more disciples, then what happens is that sometimes the disciples also, they don't behave so nicely, and it gives a bad name to the Guru. So many Vaishnavas were absolutely not interested in creating disciples, and Sri Lokanath Goswami was one of them. So Lokanath Goswami very flatly said, well, I don't accept any disciples. Thank you for asking, but I cannot accept you as disciple. So Narottama Das Thakur, he was very disappointed on hearing this answer. And once again, Narottama Das Thakur, he went back to the place where he was staying in Vrindavan, and he cried out to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, Narottama Das Thakur, he was assured in a dream by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that don't worry, I will ensure that, you get initiated by Lokanath Goswami, but you have to serve him. So Narottama Das Thakur, what he would do is, he used to closely watch in Lokanath Goswami and his activities. And since Lokanath Goswami would not allow any personal service because he is not a disciple at that point of time, so what Narottama Das Thakur did is, when Lokanath Goswami, he would wake up in the morning and perform his Pratah Kritya. Pratah Kritya means morning activities of cleansing the body. So one activity of cleansing one of the primary activities of cleansing the body is to, pass waste after getting up. So when Lokanath Goswami would wake up and he would, go to a distance in order to pass waste, and then that point of time, Sri Narottama Das Thakur, without anyone noticing, after Lokanath Goswami would leave, he would clean up the place where Lokanath Goswami, would pass his waste. So Lokanath Goswami, for a few days, he did not notice, but after a few days, he started noticing that there's some person who is making the place spick and span and clean. Although this place is not supposed to be spick and span and clean, because this is a place where many people come in the early morning for their morning duties, for their Pratah Kritya. So Lokanath Goswami also one day, he watched and he saw Narottama Das Thakur cleaning the place. So then Lokanath Goswami said, why are you doing this? I told you I will not accept you as a disciple. Then Narottama Das Thakur once again requested him, and Lokanath Goswami, that particular night, he got a dream in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him that although your vow of not accepting disciples is nice and I appreciate it, but you have to make one exception for Narottama Das. So Sri Lokanath Goswami made one exception for one
Should
personality.
end at 12 and start at 1. No, end at and start at 12 or 1.
So Narottama Das Thakur was the only exception, and he was made the disciple of Sri Lokanath Goswami. His name was Narottam, and then Das was added because Narottam is already a name of Bhagwan Shri Krishna. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam. So that name Narottam is already a name of Bhagavan. So Das was added, and he performed bhajan with Lokanath Goswami for some time. Now there is a very particular incident which has been described between Lokanath Goswami and Narottama Das Thakur, that both of them used to sit together and perform their bhajan or perform their japa, their kirtan together. And at one point of time, both of them were sitting in the same bhajan kutir and performing their japa. So in that bhajan kutir, when both of them were performing their japa, suddenly one person, one bhikshuka, one beggar came and started asking for, water. So when he started asking for water, at that point of time, Lokanath Goswami kept chanting. Narottama Das Thakur also didn't get up. So the second time he asked for water, and nobody got up. And the third time he asked, then Narottama Das Thakur actually got up and gave him a glass of water, and then came back and sat with Lokanath Goswami. So Lokanath Goswami at that point of time looked at Narottama Das Thakur and said, well, if you want to do all this, why don't you become a grihastha? Because if you are in Vrindavan, if you are taking to the life of a sadhu, then you should understand one thing, tasmin tushte jagat tushtam, that by satisfying Bhagavan Shri Krishna, everyone will be satisfied, and you don't need to satisfy each and everyone individually. So Narottama Das Thakur was thus, in this way he was given a little chastisement by his guru, and it is needed, that every guru should discipline the disciple to a certain extent, which Sri Lokanath Goswami did. So Narottama Das Thakur, he accepted, yes, especially a sadhu who is a vairagi, he should be completely dependent on Krishna. So Lokanath Goswami gave him initiation. They used to give initiation into what is known as Manjari Swarup. And he was given a spiritual identity, Champaka Manjari. And he performed his bhajan through his Sadhaka Deha as Narottama Das Thakur and through his Siddha Deha as Champaka Manjari. So Narottama Das Thakur also wanted to, because he wanted to understand the Vaishnava literature. So Sri Lokanath Goswami sent him to Sri Jiva Goswami, who was also staying in Vrindavan, and along with two other great personalities, Shyamanand Prabhu and Srinivas Acharya. So these three personalities, they studied under Srila Jiva Goswami, and they studied all the books and creations of Srila Jiva Goswami. There is a letter also by Jiva Goswami to, Srinivas Acharya and Narottama Das Thakur and everyone else. So those letters have also been preserved in Vrindavan Research Institute. So Narottama Das Thakur, after he studied from Sri Jiva Goswami, before that he was known as Narottama Das, but after he studied from Sri Jiva Goswami, the title Thakur was given to him. Thakur means great Lord. So Narottama Das Thakur, he was the illustrious disciple of Shiksha disciple of Srila Jiva Goswami. And Srila Jiva Goswami entrusted Narottama Das Thakur, Shyamanand Pandit, and Srinivas Acharya with his books, so that they could be, these books could be distributed and they could be spread around everywhere in Bangladesh and other parts of Bengal. But then these books, interestingly, these books got stolen at one point of time. And then there is a big story of how the books were retrieved. So then, after all this incident, after learning from Sri Jiva Goswami, Narottama Das Thakur came back to his hometown of Kheturi. So Narottama Das Thakur, when he came back to Kheturi, he established his ashram, which this ashram is named as Bhajan Tuli. It is 2 miles away from Kheturi. And then in his ashram, he installed deities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna, and Srimati Radharani, the many deities, Radha Mohan, Radha Kanta. So all these deities were there in his ashram. And when he did the installation, he organized a big festival at Kheturi. And this festival was very unique because all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas from Bengal, all of them were invited. They came to Kheturi in order to celebrate this festival. And Nityanand Prabhu's wife, Jahanava Mata, she was also present because she was a very elderly and respected figure in the Gaudiya Vaishnava community. So she also came there. And in that festival at Kheturi, there was also a very important decision to be made. Why? Because after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had left this world, the different Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they were having different opinions as to how one should conduct their bhakti. So some Vaishnavas in Bengal would say, this is how we should conduct our bhakti. Some other Vaishnavas would say this is how we should conduct bhakti. So all of them had their different opinions about how bhakti should be carried out. And in this festival at Kheturi, Jahanava Mata, Nityanand Prabhu's wife, Narottama Das Thakur, they all got together and they all arrived at a common conclusion that the way to perform bhakti in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is to follow the teachings of the Goswamis. And Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Gopal Bhatt Goswami, Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, and Jiva Goswami. Primarily, the teachings of Rupa Goswami should be followed. This is what was the conclusion from the entire meeting. So, this Kheturi festival was important because it solidified the position of the 6 Goswamis in the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. So, Narottama Das Thakur also introduced a new style of kirtan, which is popular in Bangladesh, and this new style of kirtan was popularized by him, and he also wrote many important books such as Prarthana and Prema Bhakti Chandrika. So these 2 books, Prarthana and Prema Bhakti Chandrika, Prarthana is basically his own prayers. Prema Bhakti Chandrika are mainly instructions and prayers. So once Sri Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was asked, how do you, attain Radha Krishna and how do you attain perfection in life? So Sri Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj said, well, you only need to pay 5 paisa in order to attain that perfection. And, he did not explain what is the meaning of 5 paisa. Then later when somebody asked Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, why is he saying, 5 paisa? So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, because in 5 paisa you get Prarthana and Prem Bhakti Chandrika. So in those days there was a book which had Prarthana and Prem Bhakti Chandrika. It's available for 5 paisa. In 5 paisa you get these 2 books, and once you have the knowledge of these 2 books, you don't need anything else. So Narottama Das Thakur, in this way, especially Prarthana and Prem Bhakti Chandrika, we have many songs which we sing. Our Guru Puja, Shri Guru Charana Padma, it is taken from Sri Narottama Das Thakur's Prarthana. And then there are also songs such as Gauranga Balite Habe Pulaka Sharira, or so many songs which we sing in the morning. They are taken from Narottama Das Thakur's songs. One peculiar thing to notice about Narottama Das Thakur's songs is Narottama Das Thakur, uh, he used to compose songs in both moods, in the Sadhaka Deha and the Siddha Deha. So, one point of time you will find songs in which he's expressing a lot of humility. That Mosama Patita Prabhu Nahe Tribhuvane, he will say, Goranga Karuna Karodina Hine Jane. So he will sing like this, or Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Ka Daya Karo More, Toma Bina Ke Dayalu Jagat Sansari, Patita Pavane Hetu Tava Avatar, Mosama Patita Prabhu Na Paiba. So it's in one song he's expressing a lot of humility. And after a few songs, you will find him singing Radha Krishna Pranamora Jugala Kishore. I will make Radha and Krishna sit on a swing and I will swing both of them, and so on and so forth. So what's going on exactly? What's going on is that some songs are written from a Sadhaka Deha point of view and some songs are written from a Siddha Deha point of view. So both types of songs we will find in Prarthana and Prem Bhakti Chandrika. So in this way, Sri Narottama Das Thakur, he passed his days in great joy and ecstasy doing Sankirtan, and he had a very dear friend whose name was Ramchandra Kaviraj. So Ramchandra Kaviraj was the dear friend of Sri Narottama Das Thakur, and after a few days, Sri Ramchandra Kaviraj, when he went to Vrindavan, he did not come back. He had gone to a Vrindavan trip, but in Vrindavan he left this world. And when this news reached Narottama Das Thakur became very morose, and he did not want to live on this planet for many more days. So it's described that Narottama Das Thakur once organized a Sankirtan party, and he went doing Sankirtan with many devotees. He went to the bank of the Ganga, and on the bank of the Ganga, Sri Narottama Das Thakur performed Sankirtan, and he entered the waters of the Ganga, and in front of everybody, it is described that in front of everybody, his body simply merged with the waters of the Ganga. His body turned into pristine milk, and it merged with the waters of the Ganga. And Sri Narottama Das Thakur, he entered into the eternal pastimes of Goloka Vrindavan. So his disappearance is, I think, Panchami Tithi, Kartik Krishna Panchami. So on the Kartik Mas, in the Krishna Paksh, which is the dark fortnight, Panchami Tithi, the 5th day of the dark fortnight of Kartik Mas. That is his disappearance day. But today is his appearance day. So we pray to Sri Narottama Das Thakur that he may kindly bestow his mercy today on all of us, and he may kindly bestow that knowledge by which we can make advancement in our bhajan, and we can understand both aspects of bhajan, how to serve Krishna in the Sadhaka Deha and how to serve Krishna in the Siddha Deha. So in this way, I would like to pause my speech, and I would like to thank once again Ramachandra Prabhu. His name is Ramachandra, and that was the same name that Narottama Das Thakur's good friend had. So I would like to thank Ramachandra Prabhu for kindly inviting me to speak something today. Thank you very much. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Narottama Das Thakur Avirbhav Tithi Mahamahotsav ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. That was wonderful description of Narottama Das Thakur's appearance, and I'd like to ask devotees to please gather your questions and raise hand or write in the chat room, and we'll take those questions in an orderly manner. Prabhuji, you have some more time, right, to take the questions?
Yeah.
Okay, Thank you so much. So give me a minute. I would like to take a moment to describe some of the events we do at the ISKCON of Bergen. Um, so the event like this, let me just share the screen maybe first. So events like this, we do it on Wednesdays and same Zoom. And next next Wednesday we have His Grace Narottama Das Prabhuji will be coming, telling a story about another nice story. And this Sunday, His Grace Ambassador Prabhu will be giving the class on Bhagavad Gita 3.21 on the same Zoom. And for the time being, our programs are going on in Zoom, and we are anticipating that hopefully in March, first week, we can go in person. Stay tuned. All the things are updated on the website. And just in case some of the devotees are curious to know other programs, we do the Bhakti Vriksha on every Friday. And if you like to join, and if you're not part of the Bhakti Vriksha in New Jersey, then feel free to join. Give the information, one of us will reach you and help you in connect with the Bhakti Vriksha programs. We do the morning meditation, chanting 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. every day, and midday Bhagavad Gita reading 12 to 12:15. We are more than happy to have you there in any of these sessions. Thank you so much. With that, I'll go back to the today's program. So since it's a appearance day of Narottama Das Thakur, who has written so many beautiful bhajans, our own dear Ramchandra Prabhu has decided to sing some bhajan after the program. So those who wants to stay, they can stay after the program. Question answers. Then we'll go for the bhajan of Narottama Das Thakur. Today is also appearance day of, or rather, today's birthday of Padmadhar Prabhu, our own dear Padmadhar Prabhu is our priest in the ISKCON of Bergen. So it's his appearance day as well. Thank you. With that, let me see questions. So I just got the message that Ramchandra Prabhu wants to dedicate his bhajans to Padmadhar Prabhu. Okay, all right. So let me see who has the questions here. I don't see any raised hand. So probably people are thinking about it. In the meantime, give me a minute. So Madhav has a question. Madhav, you can go ahead, unmute yourself, and others, I request that please raise hand or write in the chat so I can address the questions. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Ma'am, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you for the wonderful class on Narottama Das Thakur. So Prabhuji, my question is that, so while you were talking about how Mahaprabhu, he had invested Krishna Prem, that Krishna Shakti into the Padma River, so that reminded me of something else, that many times in Shastra it's mentioned that when the sadhaka bathes in the holy waters, so it be Yamuna, Radhakund, etc., holy bodies of water, it's mentioned that then automatically this love for Krishna develops. You feel this love for Krishna like that. In Shastra it's mentioned, but we see that doesn't necessarily happen.
Right.
So how do we reconcile? What should we understand in terms of practicality? What is actually happening in terms for purification when we take the dip?
Right. So for Narottama Das Thakur, there was a special exception made that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally deposited prema with the river, and that many people took bath in the Padma river, but they did not get prema. But Narottama Das Thakur got, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had specially invested it for him. Now that's Narottama Das Thakur. There was no statement that if you bathe in the Padma river, you will get prema. Only for Narottama Das Thakur, this arrangement was made. But as you correctly said, there are some statements in Shastra. They take bath in Radha Kund, they take bath in Yamuna, you get prema. And when we do that, we come back and practically we are the same person that we were before we took bath. So what changes? What has changed in the meantime? The thing is, we should read little more carefully as to what exactly is being said. Because what is being said is that when one takes bath in Radha Kund, one gets love of Krishna. But I would like to specify that exact place where it is said, and I would like to specify how Srila Prabhupada, explains this. So I'll share my screen, and in the screen you can see the translation of Upadeshamrit, verse number 10. So this is Nectar of Instruction, verse number 10. So Madhav Prabhu, can you read the translation gradually?
Yes, Prabhu. In the Shastra, it is said that of all types of fruitive workers, he who is advanced in knowledge of the higher values of life is favored by the Supreme Lord Hari. Out of many such people who are advanced in knowledge, Gyanis, one who is practically liberated by virtue of his knowledge may take to devotional service. He is superior to the others. However, one who has actually attained prema, pure love of Krishna, is superior to him. The gopis are exalted above all the advanced devotees because they are always totally dependent upon Shri Krishna, the transcendental cowherd boy. Among the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most dear to Krishna. Her Kunda lake is as profoundly dear to Lord Krishna as this most beloved of the gopis.
Okay. Okay. Now this important. Who then? So please read very carefully.
Who then will not reside at Radha Kund and in a spiritual body surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, aprakrita bhava, render loving service to the divine couple Shri Shri Radha Govinda, who perform their Astakalila Leela, their eternal eightfold daily pastimes.
Okay. So who then will not reside at Radha Kund and in a which body?
Sorry, Prabhu?
Who then will not reside at Radha Kund and in a spiritual body? So one has to acquire a Siddha Deha, and in a Siddha Deha one should take bath at Radha Kund in order to receive the desired result. So that is the specific term which is being used by Srila Prabhupada himself. So I am specifying what Prabhupada says here.
I see. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
But that doesn't mean that there is no benefit of taking a bath in Radha Kund through your sadhaka body. There are obviously many spiritual benefits, but the final benefit comes to one who takes through his spiritual body. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Madhav. Let me see.
Hare Krishna. I'm trying to raise my hand, but I'm not able to.
It's okay, Gail Mata. You can go ahead.
If you can't raise your hand, then raise your voice.
Thank you for your encouragement. Yeah, actually, I would like to, two things. I want to first follow up on this answer. So, am I understanding correctly that you have to first have your spiritual body in order? I'm confused because if you have your spiritual body already, then there is no need to.
What's the point of bathing in Radha Kund if you already have a spiritual body?
You're already in the perfected states.
Right.
Unless just to relish, I don't know, just to relish the fact that it's Radha Kund, I don't know.
Yeah. The thing is, in the next verse of Upadeshamrita, Srila Prabhupada and Srila Rupa Goswami also, I'll specify this. He says something. What does he say? That undoubtedly Radha Kund is rarely attained even by the great devotees, such as, example is Narada, etc. So even though many devotees attain their spiritual bodies, but they may not attain the service of Srimati Radharani and Gopis, and especially that service which is performed at Govardhan. And therefore it is necessary that even after one acquires one's spiritual body, one should surrender to Srimati Radharani, and that is by that initiation or surrender to Srimati Radharani happens by taking a bath in Radha Kund with her permission and the permission of her Sakhis. So that is the answer to the question, that it's not that everyone who has a spiritual body is automatically, they don't need to take bath. If they want to have that specific type of seva, then they have to attain Radha Kund. That is the answer.
And there's no hope of attaining Radha Krishna Seva if you have not taken bath there?
There is hope. There are so many sevas. One seva is to prepare prashad for them. One seva is to prepare bhoga for them. One seva is to prepare garlands for them. But this is a very specific type of seva. That seva, because in Govardhan especially, there is rasa. Rasa means there is the pastimes of rasa dance, and some of the most internal pastimes of Sri Radha and Krishna, they are happening in Govardhan near Radha Kund. So if somebody wants that specific type of seva, somebody is aspiring for that, for the highest fruit from the tallest tree, then one needs to, especially take shelter of Radha Kund.
And you're referring to rasa dance?
Yeah, and rasa dance and serving as a manjari, serving the Rasa Leela as a manjari.
Okay. And the benefit of those of us in Sadhaka Dehas, what is the benefit for us in bathing?
That our bhakti, our dedication, our bhakti sukriti increases. We get more dedication towards Srimati Radharani and Krishna, and there are many other side benefits also, but primarily our inclination to perform bhakti increases, and we get new vigor and enthusiasm to perform such seva. But finally, unless one perfects one's body, one's Siddha Deha, and through that Siddha Deha one attains Radha Kund, till that point of time one will not achieve the highest fruit from the tallest tree.
Okay, thank you. That was nice. I wonder if I could ask you to repeat the glories of Khetri Dham. Why was that special? I kind of missed it a little bit.
It's special because in that dham, when Narottama Das Thakur settled down after his Vrindavan, after studying in Vrindavan, after he settled down in his native place, he made his ashram near Kheturi and he organized a big festival at Kheturi. And in that festival, all the Vaishnavas from Bengal had come. And because one of the important aims of the festival was to establish a centralized system of authority in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, that how do you continue to make progress according to the path of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it was unanimously decided that the best way to make progress is to follow the path shown by Rupa Goswami. So in order to establish that, Gaudiya Vaishnavism is essentially defined by Rupa Goswami. And, that was the aim of the Kheturi festival.
To establish the path defined by Rupa Goswami.
Yeah, because many personalities were saying this is the path of Mahaprabhu, that is the path of Mahaprabhu. So at that time, there was no certainty that what exactly is the path of Mahaprabhu. So he got together, and Jahanama Mata were there, all the great authorities of Gaudiya Vaishnavism were there. And they unanimously said that the path of Rupa Goswami is the one. Rupa Goswami actually understood the heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that was what was established there.
Any particular reason why at that particular place?
Well, it's a festival, everybody got together and unanimous decision was taken.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Gilmatari.
Mm.
So there's, in continuation of this, there's a question as well. It says that what is the meaning of getting the spiritual body while you are staying in the material world still? That's a question Ram Sharan Prabhu has sent.
What is the meaning of getting a spiritual body?
What is the meaning of attaining the spiritual body even though we are staying in the material world? Or in other words, being in material world and have the spiritual body, how do you understand that?
A devotee is supposed to be living two lives. And in his first existence, he is supposed to be a sadhaka. And in his second existence, he is supposed to be a siddha. There is a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela. I am showing this on the screen. 22nd chapter, verse 158. Seva sadhaka rupena siddha rupena chatrahi. Tadbhava lipsuna karya vrajalokanu. Seva, one should render seva. Sadhaka rupena, in his form as a sadhaka. Siddha rupena cha, and in a siddha form. Atrahi, in this world. Not that in this world I will only remain a sadhaka and after dying I will become a siddha. No. Rupa Goswami says atrahi. In this world itself you have to do both. So in the translation, Prabhupada says he should execute service externally as a regulative devotee as well as internally from a self-realized position. Thus he should perform devotional service both externally and internally. That's an injunction by Rupa Goswami. That is Acharya's order. And that has to be followed by anyone who calls himself Rupanuga. So that is the answer to the query. How that is done, that is not something which can be explained in a public talk. That has to be understood from a guru, a bhajan guru who knows all the secrets. But what has to be done, that I have specified here in the words of Srila Prabhupada himself.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Ramchan Prabhu, please go ahead with your question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. So happy to see you and hear from you. Always nectarian. My question is that, especially Narottama Das Thakur has written so many bhajans. He's known as, even for his kirtans. Many times, devotees would just want to sing the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, not really go into bhajans. But singing the bhajans or poems written by such acharyas is so important. Can you just maybe stress or say a few things about that, or to memorize even?
See, there is one thing is Sankirtan. There is Kirtan, Sankirtan and Japa. So often what happens is devotees sometimes confuse Japa with Kirtan. So when one performs Japa, Japa has to be performed of a specific mantra. And in our case, that is Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But when Sankirtan, so the definition of Sankirtan is Nama Leela Gunadi Nam Uchchair Bhashatu Kirtanam. Kirtan means glorifying names, qualities, pastimes of Krishna. And there you are not restricted by a specific mantra. You can do Hare Krishna Mahamantra Kirtan also, Nam Kirtan also. But nowhere in Shastra you will find that you should do only this thing and nothing else. In japa, you are restricted to a mantra. But in loud kirtan, you are never restricted to a specific mantra. So in loud kirtan, you can always, because some kirtan is about glorifying the pastimes. Some kirtan is about glorifying the associates. So all of those kirtans, they have their specific individual songs, and those songs need to be sung by all the devotees. So otherwise, otherwise what you are saying, what somebody may say is, only perform Nam Sankirtan and don't perform Leela Kirtan, don't perform Guna Kirtan, then how will Kirtan become complete? Actually speaking, Bhagavatam class is also Kirtan. Somebody may say, well, Parshad Das, why are you speaking some other topics just on Zoom call, just chant Hare Krishna? But of course I can do that also. There's no issue in chanting Hare Krishna for 1 hour, 1.5 hours. But that is Nam Kirtan. But besides Nam Kirtan, we also require Rupa Kirtan, glorifying the form, Guna Kirtan, glorifying the qualities, Leela Kirtan, glorifying the pastimes. And therefore, speaking Bhagavatam is also Kirtan. Singing the songs of the previous Acharyas is also Kirtan. Composing new songs is also Kirtan. So all these are within the purview of Kirtan, and there is no restriction. Nam Akari Bahuda Nija. Niyamitasma, there's no restriction which set of names you want to sing in Kirtan, or which set of qualities or pastimes you want to sing in Kirtan. So as far as japa is there is some restriction. You can chant only a selected mantras, but that restriction doesn't apply to Kirtan. So that is the answer to your question.
Okay. And in that regards, I remember many years ago when Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj was in a class and he was talking about singing songs or hearing songs sung by non-devotees also or should not be followed. Or I'm just not quoting him, but just the gist of what he was trying to say. And then I quoted him, I asked him that time that, well, there's a bhajan sung by a famous musician. Everybody sings Jai Radha Madhava. Everyone knows who I'm singing about, the singer. But he said even that, if a song is written by the acharyas, it's fine. But even to hear songs sung by non-devotees is not the best, one may. Because sometimes we also tend to hear songs which are not necessarily coming from acharyas. They may have been composed by someone. But this is a little deeper, isn't it? We have so many bhajans and acharyas to focus on that, whatever little time we have.
Right. So I'm not getting the question. Question is, should we hear?
Yeah, should we hear, and is it as beneficial? Is it the same thing to hear songs or bhajans which may not necessarily be in the line of disciplic succession and or sung by non-devotees?
When one is performing Vaidhi Bhakti, a new devotee, a neophyte, for a neophyte, it is extremely essential to be told what to do. Because new people cannot distinguish between what is Siddhanta, what is not Siddhanta, what is bona fide, what is not bona fide. A new person cannot distinguish between these things. So for a person who is new, they need guidelines, and those guidelines have to come from the Guru. It's not that I will decide who is a neophyte. The Guru decides who is a neophyte. The Guru decides who is Madhyama, and the Guru decides who is Uttama. So these things are mainly strictly between the Guru and the disciple. And the Guru tells that, you are a new devotee. You should only first and foremost focus on these particular set of songs. But krame teha bhakta haive uttam. Gradually, that same devotee becomes uttama. And now, if that same devotee who is now able to distinguish between proper and improper siddhanta, who knows what should be accepted and what should not be accepted. Now, if somebody tries to spoon feed such a devotee, then that devotee will be a very distasteful experience for that devotee. So that devotee will not, not easily accept such instruction. So for a new devotee, yes, definitely, because they can't distinguish between what is Siddhanta and what is not Siddhanta. But when a devotee knows what is the Siddhanta and what is not Siddhanta, then he can see other songs, and then he can select that this song is completely according to Siddhanta. So it's very well it should be sung. And this song is not according to Siddhanta, so it should not be sung. And I'll give an example of this. Every morning we are singing Tulsi Aarti, but we don't know who is Deen Krishna Das. Is there any, Ramchandra Guru, is there anybody in our Guru Parampara who is known as Deena Krishna Das? So we don't hear of anyone Deena Krishna Das. Then why did Srila Prabhupada introduce a song which is not from our list of disciplic succession? We don't know who is Deen Krishna Das. Is he a Gaudiya Vaishnava also? Well, from the name it sounds like it, but maybe he may not be even from the same branch of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So, but then why did Prabhupada institutionalize the Tulsi Aarti from an unknown source? That's because Prabhupada is expert enough to understand who is, what should be accepted, what should not be accepted. Similarly, there may be other devotees who know Shastra, who know what should be accepted, what should not be accepted. So for them, there is no restriction. The initial restriction is there for the new devotee, that too for some amount of time, and that too it is the Guru who gives the restriction. Not that every devotee will start giving restriction to everybody else. Otherwise, we are not a police state. So that a Guru should give restriction. So if that is the mood, and the Guru chastises the disciple, the Guru corrects the disciple, that is very nice. But for an advanced devotee, those restrictions don't apply. That is the answer.
Thank you. In the same line, that there one bhajan, Nitai bhajan, Daya koro more Nitai, Daya koro more, Agar tira gati Nitai sadhu loko bole, and at the end it was Kanu Ramadas bole. I tried to do research, but I couldn't find much about Kanu Ramadas, but Gaur Govind Maharaj used to sing very often.
Right. So, see, therefore I said that, there are so many kirtans. I'll show you a book. It's called Vaishnav Padavali. Many years ago, I managed to scan this book, Vaishnav Padavali, and I will show you the scan of this book. So, this is a Bengali book, Bangla Kirtan book. It is called Vaishnav Padavali. In 2013, I got it scanned, and this book is available now on the internet, Vaishnav Padavali. So this book was published by Sri Hare Krishna Mukhopadhyay. It's a book which consists of around 10,000 Vaishnav bhajans. And you can see the names of the various Padakartas. So there is Rai Ramanand, Murari Gupta, Narhari Sarkar, Govinda Ghosh, Madhav Ghosh, Vasu Ghosh, Vasudev Ghosh. And there is Rup Goswami. All these devotees we know. Then later all the other Vaishnavas, Nayana Ananda, Gokulananda, Uddhav Das, Tarani Raman, Narottama Das, Jagannath Das, Shyamanand, Govinda Das, Balaram Das, Parshuram, Gopal Bhatt, Gopal Das, Radha Vallabh Das, Simha Bhupati. All these names are, we don't know, who are all these personalities. So now whom do we accept and whom do we not? We don't know what was the life of these personalities. So many personalities, they have written these songs. So what do we do? And the list is going on and on and on and on and on and on. So many sadhus have written songs. So if we tell all of them, well, sorry, we don't know you, so we don't accept you. So that's not how it can be done. This entire book, this book is over 1,000 pages, almost, thousands and thousands of Vaishnava songs. There's also another compilation, Pada Kalpataru, the desire tree of Vaishnava songs. So that is another huge compilation of songs that also has 5,000 to 6,000 songs. So once we go deeper into the Gaudiya Vaishnav literature, we will understand that we have not even touched the tip of the iceberg.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. I was just looking for one more question. Um, you mentioned that Narottama Das Thakur was revealed as the Champaka Manjari.
Hmm.
And we know that Narottama Das Thakur wrote all these bhajans which give the essence of most of the scriptures in his bhajans.
Hmm.
So I'm just trying to understand his Siddha Sarup as a Champak Manjari, some pastime which can correlate his pastimes and as in Narottama Das Thakur.
Many of those pastimes he never revealed because he himself has written in his Prem Bhajan Chandrik, Apan Bhajan Katha na kahibu yatha tatha. Don't reveal the pastimes of your inner bhajan here and there. So definitely he'll not write that in his books. But yeah. What happens in the Siddha Deha is a very private affair between Krishna and the devotee. But what we know is that he was initiated as Champak Manjari by Lokanath Goswami. In those days, the Guru would give Siddha initiation at the time of initiation. That's what happened with Narottama Das Thakur. That's also what happened with Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he was initiated by Bipin Bihari Goswami. And at the time of initiation, Bipin Bihari Goswami gave him his Siddha identity, Kamal Manjari. So those initiations are no longer held because these personalities were of a certain caliber. They already were expert in their bhajan and they understood Shastra so much. They struggled a lot before they attained a Guru. They went through all the struggles of a sadhaka before they attained a Guru. It was not easy to attain a Guru in those days. And the Gurus would also very not easily accept a disciple. So the sadhaka had to first pass all tests of maturity before the sadhaka is accepted. So, but nowadays this system was not allowed by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur because this system is not for mass preaching. This system of initiation is not for the masses. It's only for a very few selected people who have understood who have completely perfected their sadhan very nicely. So to them it can be given, but not to everybody else. Has to be in their sadhaka deha, perfect their sadhaka deha, and understand then what is their siddha identity. So not much has been written about his pastimes but he has, through his songs, whatever you can understand, that through his songs you will be able to see. That's all.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. I think Gail Mataji has one more question. Do you have some time?
Yeah.
Gail Mataji, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Yeah, just following up a little bit on your conversation with Ramchandra Prabhu. Maybe you answered this, but I didn't get it. So is there any harm in a Vaishnav of one sampradaya hearing bhajans from Vaishnavas of another sampradaya? Any harm?
There is a harm if the person who is hearing it is a neophyte and doesn't know how to distinguish between what is Siddhanta and what is not Siddhanta. Because
but if you're the reason why I said another sampradaya, because sampradaya means is, we're talking about a bona fide disciplic succession.
yeah.
So I'm saying if a person is singing bhajan and it's according to Siddhanta of their sampradaya,
right.
Is there harm for somebody else from another? They're hearing.
Yeah. Therefore, I'm saying there's something known as harm, and then there is something known as non-compliance. And let me distinguish between these two. Harm is when somebody hears something which is anti-devotional service. For example, somebody, see, there is a sampradaya of Vaishnavas. There are many sampradayas of Vaishnavas which we call as bona fide, but which have elements of impersonalism within them. So, and if we listen to bhajans composed by some Vaishnavas who have a tinge of impersonalism, but although they are initiated in a bona fide sampradaya, and we are not able to distinguish what is impersonalism and what is not impersonalism, then that may be harmful for us. Another thing is, somebody from a Vaishnava sampradaya has composed something and we sing it, but that's not the mood of Rupa Goswami. Let's say somebody composes a very beautiful prayer glorifying Dwarkadhish, the king of Dwarka, and we sing it and we like it. It's all bona fide. There is no Mayavad in it. But at the end of the day, it's not Vrindavan Bhajan. So it's not exactly harmful, but it is not also helping us in the direction in which we want to go.
Yes.
So I hope this distinction is clear. There's something known as
Yes.
harmful, but which is impersonalism, etc. And there's something which is non-compatible with the mood of the sampradaya.
Yes.
So a new devotee cannot easily distinguish these things. And this term should be used very carefully, neophyte, new devotee, because sometimes we tend to blanket apply this term on everybody who's sitting in the audience. When I say new devotee, I don't mean everyone who's sitting in the audience. And please never take it like that. A new devotee is someone who doesn't know Shastra. A neophyte is someone whose faith is soft and who doesn't know Shastra. That is what is the definition of a neophyte. It's not that everybody sitting in the audience is a new devotee. Sometimes speakers, when they are speaking from the Vyasasana, sometimes they have the audacity to say, and neophyte should not do this. And when they say neophyte, they have the audacity to mean the entire audience. And by saying like this, the speaker proves himself to be a neophyte actually, because he is seeing himself in everyone else. That is what is happening there actually. So one should strictly speak from Shastra and not speak from one's mental speculation. It is my job as a Brahmana to speak what is the actual truth. One should speak from Shastra and not speak from mental speculation. What Shastra says is, Shastra yukta shuni punya drida shraddha yar, uttam adhikari sahi tare sansar. Shastra yukti nahi jani drida shraddhavan, madhyam adhikari sahi mahabhagyavan. Yahara komala shraddha sahi kanishta jan, krame krame teha bhakta hoibe uttam. This is Shastric definition. That is how this is the common yardstick for everyone. Not that I have some mood swing and in the morning I end up calling everyone neophyte in the class. That is not how it should be done. So, one who knows Shastric conclusions, one who can quote Shastra and whose faith is very strong, that person is known as Uttamadhikari. One who doesn't know so much Shastra, but whose faith is very strong, that person is Madhyamadhikari. And one who doesn't know Shastra and whose faith is also soft, that person is known as Kanishthadhikari, neophyte. And that person should take help of a senior devotee before making decisions in spiritual life. But a person who is Uttamadhikari, and we should not label people that, this is person, this is Uttamadhikari, this is, because these are not certificates to be given to people. A person should understand within their heart that what position I am myself in. And then they have the maturity to know what adhikar I am in. And the guru also tells the disciple that sometimes you are in this adhikar, you should do this, you should not do this. So that is what, that is what should happen. So I hope that clarifies.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And just to confirm one last point is that if a person who has, Mayavadi bent, right? But they're singing a devotional song.
Right.
No matter whether you are advanced or neophyte, right? Isn't it because that person's singing, their consciousness is carried by that devotional tune? it would still be harmful to listen to them, right? Even though, the words might be devotional, but because the person himself might be Mayavadi
Right.
and have that consciousness, doesn't it make his singing harmful?
Yeah, the thing is, a person who's an impersonalist at heart may be singing something which appears to be devotional. But then after performing his devotion, ultimately such a person may want to merge into the Lord. So, and when we hear that song, because that song is carrying the ultimate mood which is being carried through the song is, well, this is my bhakti towards you, O Lord. Now accept me as non-different from you. That is what is the ultimate intention of the impersonalist.
Yes.
So what happens is the mood of the speaker is carried on within the heart of the listeners. The mood of the speakers affects the heart of the listeners. So a blanket instruction is given sometimes that don't listen to impersonalists. So that blanket instruction is there. And at the same time, for every rule, there are exceptions. There may be those people who were impersonalists in the past, but who are now becoming devotees. And in the Padyavali of Rupa Goswami, there are so many such Saraswatis, Madhav Saraswati, so many Saraswati sannyasis that he is quoting. These are actually names of Advaitavadis that they are being quoted in Padyavali by Rupa Goswami. Let me point out some verses from the Padyavali, and let me show these some of the verses written by personalities who will be considered as impersonalists actually. But Sri Rupa Goswami has included their names in their compositions in the Padyavali. For example, see, I am sharing my screen. This is verse 57. Mimamsa Rajasa Mali Masadrisham. Author is given below. Shri Madhav Saraswati. Madhav Saraswati is the personalist. So, but his verse is being quoted by Rupa Goswami in Padyavali. Now, you only tell me, why would Rupa Goswami quote an impersonalist in Padyavali?
Well, as you said, maybe he changed his mind.
Right. So we should allow people the freedom to change their minds. It's not that, once a person is associated with Advaitavad, he is not subject to eternal damnation. But sometimes in ISKCON we do that. Just because a person was formerly an impersonalist, we say that he is subject to eternal damnation. And that is not the case.
I'm thinking of Sarabama Bhattacharya.
Right. So we have to be very open-minded in this regard, that we don't know what is the internal journey of a person. Not everybody has the fortune of getting a Prabhupada book for the first time in their spiritual life. And just because somebody didn't get a Prabhupada book, just because somebody is not a member of the Gaudiya Math, or just because somebody was not associated with ISKCON or the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya in the first attempt in his spiritual life, doesn't mean that that person will be subject to eternal damnation in our books. And that is not how we should write history. We should write history with a frame of mind in which Prabhupada said that the whole world will be our family. And we can't call the entire world our family if we call many of them as Mayavadis and, such people. So there are Mayavadis, but then there are Mayavadis who are beginning to change. That is also possible. So the best way to check is to see what they have composed and then to have the required expertise to understand whether it is devotional or not devotional. So I hope that clarifies it.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That was a very detailed answer, and various avenues and different ways you have explained this concept. and very helpful in understanding this. It's actually a very subtle point, and well, thankful of your time in explaining it nicely in a simple language. Shraddha Mataji has one more question. If you can please honor it.
Yeah, sure.
Mataji, go ahead, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I don't have any question, but as always, your classes are just so enriching for the soul. It just gives the nourishment. And I was there at Bhakti Sangha Japa group in the YouTube channel, not in the live class when you spoke on Nityananda Trayodashi. And Prabhu, your composition, I mean, beyond words. I wrote a comment on the YouTube thing that no amount of words can do any justice to your composition. Prabhuji, it was so beautiful. And I mean, I took screenshots of the slides when you were sharing them, and slide after slide, verse after verse. It was so beautiful. And especially when you're talking about, Brahmaji looks at Nityananda Prabhu in the lap of Padmavati, and he's criticizing his own Padma. I was just wondering, Prabhu, how could you get that inspiration? It just blows our mind. And then with the number 9, the technicality that you presented, and just a minute, Vita. And then with number 12, and then each and every verse, Prabhu, I just wanted to tell you that what blessings that comes through you, through your words and through your compositions, Prabhu. I mean, it was just amazing. So just wanted to thank you for those gems that you share with us all the time. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Oh, thank you so much. Actually, not many times, every time sometimes I share with the devotees, but I'm very hesitant to do it because I don't know how sometimes it will be received or sometimes it will not be received. Sometimes some devotees, not all devotees, sometimes some devotees have the mood, don't compose anything new. That's what they say. Don't compose anything new. And then my mood is not that. My mood is that if we don't compose anything new, then why do we call ourselves Hare Krishna movement? What is the meaning of the term movement? Movement means things should move. And if we don't have anything in every generation, then instead of being Hare Krishna movement, we'll become Hare Krishna stagnant. And we don't want to become Hare Krishna stagnant, because every generation there has been new compositions. Did Srila Prabhupada's generation, did he and his god brothers compose new literature? Yes. Did previous generation Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur compose? And yes. Bhakti Vinod Thakur compose? Yes. Baldev Vidya Bhushan? Yes. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur? Yes. Rupa Goswami? Yes. And in ISKCON's generation? No. Then what will we become? Hare Krishna movement or Hare Krishna stagnant? So we should not become Hare Krishna stagnant. Every generation will have new challenges, and every generation will be significantly different from the previous generations. And therefore, every generation should have the caliber of executing bhakti with the challenges that are present in those generations. And for that, every generation should learn the art of keeping the movement alive. Because it's very easy to settle oneself in the comfort of legacy. It's very easy to be in the comfort bubble of legacy. Oh, we are a great movement. Just see the 1970s. It's 2022 right now. So
Prabhu, and I was also thinking that, it also gives inspiration to those who may have this inclination of writing new things. I mean, Prabhupada himself did that, and not that we are saying that everybody would become Prabhupada, but what I'm trying to say here is that many would have the proclivity to write such devotional things. And if they have understood the Shastras and if they carry their feeling, why not put it out in words? And
right.
It just gives pleasure to the bhaktas. I mean, that's
Right.
what bhaktas are supposed to do.
Right.
Sing about Krishna and sing his glories and take pleasure in those.
Yeah. When I initially started writing, then I was also confronted by this, that why do you want to write something new? So because Prabhupada wrote, everybody wrote, Prabhupada asked others to write, but you are not Prabhupada. But I never said I am Prabhupada. But at the same time, one of the 26 qualities of a devotee is kavi. And do I want to develop that quality or not? Or should I, in my case, I should have only 25 qualities. So if I want to develop the 26 qualities of a kavi, of a devotee, one of them is that a devotee should also be a poet. And is it that only till Prabhupada's generation you were supposed to have 26 qualities? After Prabhupada, you are only supposed to have 25. Is it like that, or every generation is supposed to have 26? Every generation is supposed to have 26 qualities. That's how. Otherwise, the sampradaya will become narrow, and one day will be over. So, in order to preserve the flow of the sampradaya, the movement should go on. Devotees should write. It's better to write and make mistakes than to not write. Better to have loved and failed rather than never have loved at all. That is my mood. And although some devotees may not like it, some devotees may not appreciate it, I respect those devotees. Let them be in the, if they find comfort in legacy, let them find comfort in legacy. I'll not come there to disturb them. But obviously, I will also not be disturbed by them. There is a statement in Bhagavad Gita, Yasman no dvijate loko loka no dvijate chayah. One, he who is not disturbed by others, and he who doesn't become a source of disturbance to others. So I willingly will not disturb somebody else, and I will not be disturbed by somebody else. And such a devotee, Krishna says, is very dear to him. And that is in the Bhagavad Gita. So we should be like that. So our aim in composing new compositions is not so that we want to create a disturbance in the society, but our aim in composing is to increase the glory of Bhagavan, to speak the glories of Bhagavan Shri Krishna, to attract his mercy. And if somebody says, well, we don't want to do that, we want to sing what is existing because we are not comfortable with new compositions, I respect that. So let them sing the compositions of the previous acharyas, and I respect that. I pray my obeisances and I give equal respect to them. But then creative freedom cannot be restricted. That is what I would like to say. Thank you so much.
So, Prabhuji, you said that you're from West and you were trying to attempt a language from the East. I'm from Calcutta. So when you were asking those questions and when you were, trying to say the translation, I was doing it. So Prabhu, the question that came to my mind is that, did you learn Bengali, or is Chaitanya Charitamrita the source of your Bangla knowledge?
Yeah, I only have access to Sadhu Bangla. I can't speak the modern Bengali. My only introduction to Bangla language is through the sadhus, and I have not yet been able to connect with the modern Bengali culture, because in many ways it is very strange to how I have grown up. See, I come from a Marathi culture, which is, Maharashtrians are very different. It's a different breed of people, and the modern Bengalis, they are a very different kind of people. So, and in Maharashtra, in Maharashtra there is a saying. It is called Gaud Bengal. Gaud Bengal means, those who are Marathis will understand. Gaud Bengal means galat, ulta pulta. It means it is something is not correct. In Maharashtra they call it Gaud Bengal. So that's because Bengal is associated with tantra and magic, and that is what Bengal is associated with. Therefore they call it Gaud Bengal. Gaud Bengal means some black magic, something ulta pulta. So these cultures don't match, but the bhakti culture matches. That is the common point of intersection. The bhakti culture matches. Therefore, that is the only point of intersection where I have been able to find a connect with Gaud Desh. And that is the limited expertise that I have in that direction. If you ask me to speak to a modern day Bengali, I can't speak the modern words also. But maybe, and if they also hear what I say, they will say, I don't know from which century he's speaking. They will also say like that. But for composing, we need Sadhu Bangla. That is what does the job. But I'm happy. If there were any mistakes, you should point it out. I would be very happy to correct myself.
No, Prabhu, not at all. It was so beautiful. I was just blown away. I was like, oh my goodness, this is like nectar, and it was so nice, Prabhu. Thank you so much for gifting this to us, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Shuddha Mataji. And I think with that, the question answer session is kind of concluding now. I'm pretty sure.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I'm sorry. I just needed to apologize that I wasn't able to thank you for your answers because my phone died. So if you, at the end of your answers to me, I didn't say anything. I was silent because that was the reason. So thank you so much.
No, it's okay. It's not that, you've asked many times and you've expressed your thanks so many times. So it's okay, I understand. And I'm very thankful that you kindly asked me. And usually we end up having such a nice and cordial discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So that was really nice, engaging question answer session, and a beautiful class about Narottama Das Thakur's pastimes. And these are nectarian times which never feels like should be ending ever, and should go on and on. But the time is a limit, and I think at some point we pause. However, Ramchandra Prabhu will be singing a song about Narottama Das Thakur. So those who want to stay back, they can stay back, and we'll be doing some bhajan sangha. And with this part of the today's session, we are bringing to conclusion, and I would like to ask permission from Prabhuji that please continue your association for us, and whenever you have time, and we'll be always looking for your association and future. It's a wonderful thing, and request you to please forgive any mistakes, and on behalf of our community, we are very much thankful of you.
No, what mistakes can there be? The audience never makes any mistake. It's the speaker who makes the mistake. Therefore, I have to say, Yadatra skalitam kinchit vidvam saha purayantu tat. Yadatra saushthavam kinchit tat gurureva mene. Yadatra skalitam kinchit. If there are any mistakes, vidvam saha, you are all vidvans, purayantu tat. You please correct those mistakes. Yadatra saushthavam kinchit. If there is anything nice, tat gurureva. It belongs to my gurujanas mene. It doesn't belong to me. So actually it is the speaker who should say, because it is the speaker who is subject to mistakes in the class. So thank you very much, Prabhuji. Thank you, Ramachandra Prabhu. And with your permission, I'll start my day now here in Mumbai. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.